Hey guys, so we are going to be ordering decimals here, and specifically, we're going to be ordering them from the smallest up to the biggest. So, when you do this, there is a strategy that I like to do, and that is to make sure I like to call it using the tidy test. So, if you keep things nice and tidy, they're all in their own special little spot, right? So, the way we're going to do that here is we can use these sort of barriers, if you will. So, we're going to create some columns. So here's a column between our holding in sort of the place value of ones, right? And then we can do the same thing here and we can create a barrier holding in our place value of our tenth and get real spitty tenths different than tens. And then we can say, all right, I still see some numbers. So we've got this place value spot. We've still got some here, so we'll fill it all in. Okay, so we have this sort of tidy situation here. So we have our ones, we have our tenths, our hundredths, our thousandths, and we're kind of set up here. So what you can do is you can go ahead and make this happen on your note sheet. And you can see I've kind of added in these labels here for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to think about kind of sorting through these. Okay, so as we go, I'm just going to take my pen and I'm going to start with the digits that are in the biggest place value spot. In this case, our biggest place value spot are our digits here in our ones column. So as we look and we kind of pretend like everything else is gone, right? We can't see anything else yet. We're going to just look at the things inside of this column here. And we can see that, well, 0 and 0 and 0 and 0 and 0, they're all tied, right? Nothing is bigger or smaller than the rest. So far, we don't have any information that helps us in sorting our numbers from least to greatest. We can't pick out the biggest number or the smallest number just by looking at the ones column. So let's move to the next column. So the next biggest column that we have available here are our tenths. Okay, so we're gonna kind of not look at anything in front of the tenths or anything behind the tenths. We can pretend like that's all gone. And we're just gonna look at the numbers, the digits inside of the tenths column here. And as we look, we can see that we do end up with some information, right? We end up with that 0 and 0 are smaller than 3 and 3 and 3. So the ones kind of circled in green are going to be our smallest numbers, and then the ones circled in blue are going to end up being our biggest. But we have a tie for the smallest, and we have a triple way tie for the biggest. So we need a little bit more information. So I've sort of undone the crossing out, if you will, of those columns, but I've brought back these colors, right? So our blues are going to be our bigger and the green are going to be our smallest numbers. So now we're going to keep going. So now we have a little bit of information, but we still need to move to the next column. So we're not going to look at the ones. We already did that. We used our tenths column. And the next biggest open available column is to look at the hundredths. And this is going to give us a little information. So we knew that these green ones here are going to be our smallest numbers, right? One of these is going to be our smallest number because we got that information from the tenths column. And as we look here, we can kind of compare and say, all right, well, if I'm just looking in this column, 3 is smaller than 9. So that means that this is going to be the very smallest number. So right here is going to go 300ths. Okay. And that means then that this is the only one left in green, right? We know that based on the tenths, this has to be our next smallest number. So this becomes 0.09 or 0 and 9 hundredths. Okay. So we now have discovered our smallest and next smallest number. So now we only have 3 left to compare. And we knew that we already did the ones. We don't need to look there. We already did the tenths. We have now a chance to look at the hundredths column. So as we look, we know that, well, this one's missing a digit. So if we add in a digit, really it's by having nothing there, it's like saying that there are 0. So we can add in a 0 to both of these. And then we can see that, okay, well, so far this is the biggest. So that means that 0 and 3 31 hundredths is going to be our greatest number. Check. So now we just have 2 left, and we can see that 3 and 3 are tied, 0 and 0 are tied in the hundredths column, but when we look to the thousandths, it's the tiebreaker. This is the next biggest. So this is